Hey, so we run campaigns with agents for all sorts of reasons, right? Sometimes they're looking for brand awareness. Sometimes it's more about retention of past clients. Sometimes it's about just running something to keep their seller happy. And sometimes it's acquisition. They're like, yo, I need some leads, so let's use Lead Gen Lab to get some leads. And they're like really upset when there's no leads at the end of the campaign. And they're like, what went wrong? Like, what happened? And the way that I think about this, right, is kind of like if you go fishing and you don't catch any fish, like what went wrong? It's like, was it the boat? Was it the fishing rod? Was it your bait? Was it where you decided to fish? Was it the time of day? Was it the weather that day? Was it you? Was it the fish? There's no way to know exactly what went wrong, right? But what we can do is focus on a couple of areas where if we get these things right, it increases the probability that we're going to have a successful outcome. In our world, there's three real sort of focus areas. First is the targeting, right? Who is going to see these ads? If an agent just gives us a geography, right, we're going to default to showing that ad to people who live in that area or are interested in that area and have a interest in real estate. It's kind of the default. I always think agents should go a little bit further. Think about enhanced targeting. Think about who are the buyer personas for this listing. Who are the type of people that you take on as clients? What makes them special? What are the professions? What are the life events that they have in common? So like first lockdown, who's going to see the ad? Secondly is like, what is the ad? What is it going to look like? What is it going to say? I think this is where sometimes we don't spend enough time just pausing and going, okay, like how do we make sure we create the most compelling ad we can? It's not about the most words possible. It's about something that is visually striking, something that's a short and punchy headline that grabs people's interest, right? You don't have to sell them on the whole thing right in the ad. The point of the ad is to get them back to the landing page. So how can we have something in that ad that is just very intriguing? Excuse me. So to me, like that's just that I always like to think it's the appetizer that goes into the entree, which is the landing page. So it should just be good enough at being interesting, but not comprehensive. And so that brings us to the last step, right? We know who's going to see the ad. We know what the ad is. What happens post-click? What happens after someone clicks on the ad? This is the part where agents spend the least amount of thought and effort, and I think is the biggest opportunity for improvement across the board. And that's what is the landing page experience? Because for a lot of agents, they're like, okay, it's a brand ad. I'll have them go to the homepage of my website, or I'll have them go to my profile page, or if it's a listing, straight to the listing page. To me, I find that leads happen most often when there's a value exchange, right? It's really hard for users to want to cross that anonymity barrier and give you their information. Like you have to give them a good reason. I'm not giving up my email address, let alone my phone number, unless you give me a really great reason for why I should be sharing this. And just because you're cool, just because you exist, that's not enough, right? We know that across the internet, the like average conversion rate is like in the low single digits. So 95% of people who will come to this landing page are gonna bounce. So you're not gonna have a lot of like shots on goal. So how do we make sure that we're making the most of it? To me, you've got to find a way to create that value exchange where like this is where the whole world of like lead magnets come in, but like how can I offer something of value to you that gets you to want to share your information? So if it's, being able to share a listing, it's being able to like, if it's a coming soon, being able to say, hey, get early access to this. Or if it's like a development, it's like be the first to know when no units are coming online or before they hit the market. Or if it's a brand, it's like, let me give you this cheat sheet to like, what you need to know about buying in this neighborhood. Like you've got to create something that you can offer to people to say, I'm going to give this thing to you of value to start this relationship. Without that, it's really, really hard to get someone to just give you their information. And so to me, if you can focus on those three areas, you increase the likelihood of actually having a positive lead outcome. But without those, you make it incredibly hard. Is it impossible? No, it happens all the time. But we also have agents who run campaigns and are just terribly upset about like no leads happen. And I kind of always come back to like, how did you put in the work, right? Just because you bought the gym membership doesn't mean you lose 10 pounds. Like you have to show up and do the work. In this case, the work for digital ads for leads is thinking about that user journey, is taking yourself out of it and putting yourself in their shoes. And how do you make sure you're giving them so much stuff? They're like, wow, I appreciate this. I want to learn more. I have questions. One of my biggest like things when I talk to agents and we're talking about brand, I'm like, what's the call to action, right? Like, what are you asking someone to do? We have to have something. The one that I'm really a big fan of right now is like, text me. Especially today, I feel like a phone call feels like a huge commitment. The ability to say, hey, here's all this information about this neighborhood that I love, that I live in and that I love. If you have any questions, text me. I'm here to help you. It's no commitment. I'm just here to help. that to me, I'm just like, oh, yeah, if that was me, I do have a question about this neighborhood, and we can create a relationship that goes somewhere. That's a really great way to approach it. But just to drop someone off on the homepage, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be enough, or it's going to be an uphill battle. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Hope it's helpful. Bye.